Welcome to episode 67. This is long. Guidepost 5. Cultivating intuition and trusting faith. Letting go of the need for certainty.
Join us as we talk about what it means as witches to do these things in lots of different practices, including things like tarot, ritual, or even fruit selection at the grocery store.
Stay tuned. Welcome to the Witchy Wit podcast, where we look at life through a witchy lens. I'm KImberlyn.
I'm Leilani.
At Witchy Wit, we explore current events,
Ideas,
music and books,
and experiences in ways that recognize energy and life in everybody and everything.
We are both real witches.
And we bring two real perspectives through the lens of our different ages,
Races,
and backgrounds.
with a healthy skepticism for what we have been told is true. Our conversations are raw, candid, and vulnerable.
Join us as we cast a spell to uncover what we each know is true in our intuitive, witchy selves.
Welcome to episode 67, Guidepost 5,
Cultivating intuition,
and trusting faith.
letting go of the need for certainty.
Woo!
Easy smeezy. All right, moving on. Check. Already did it.
Okay, good. All right, just getting it out is kind of daunting, but exciting, wouldn't you say?
I would.
But before we dive into the daunting and exciting part, let's see what's going on in our world today.
That sounds great.
Would you like to start?
I would love to.
Yes.
So over the summer, I am not traveling as much as I normally do this summer. And instead, I'm staying home and I'm working with a coach on my hand balancing. And I just wanted to share that it is both exciting and fulfilling and also really challenging and frustrating. So, and I think that can be like a universal human experience.
Oh, yeah.
of the process being of the process of doing something that's challenging, and then the joy that comes with finding growth and seeing that I'm getting better, but then also experiencing those moments of doubt and frustration and wanting to give up and questioning many things about myself and my life. And, so I've had moments where I've been sometimes I train at the gym and sometimes I train at my house, where I'm like trying to do something and I'm like videoing myself so I can like look at my form, and then I get frustrated and I feel like I'm never going to get better, and I feel like it's hopeless or I'm not good enough in like very different ways. Like I'm not good enough as a person. My body's not good enough. My brain isn't good. Like I just get like all this stuff comes up, and then I cry and I'm sad and I want to give up. And sometimes I give up for moments, like I'll like sit on the floor and cry, or I'll like walk away, but then I come back. But just that experience of like frustration and despair, and then the overcoming, and then those glimpses of progress and hope I just think it's like a really interesting cycle and pattern. And I'm experiencing right now in my like pretty intense handstand coaching program that I'm in right now. But I think as I was experiencing it, I was like, this is like life for me, like this is a truth that I know I experience in other places.
Right.
But I also think it's not limited to just me. Like this is like part of what I think it means to be human. So.
Well. So may I comment?
Yes, please.
First of all, I think my major comment is how in awe I am that you're doing this voluntarily. You know what I mean? Because, what you're, like you said, it is like life, but most people go through it because they have to, right? They've got to push through this stuff so they can put food on the table, or they can, do whatever they need to do. But you are, in your relatively spare time, spare time, you are putting yourself through a lot of this because of something that you want to achieve, not something that you have to do. And I find that amazing. First of all, that you have the passion to allow you to keep, to have this goal, but then the passion and the drive and the perseverance and the the stick-to-itiveness to actually sit on the floor and cry, and then looking at the video, weeping at the video, and then getting up and saying, okay, well, what can I do to do, I'm not sure what's going through your head, but that you get up and then you do that again.
Thank you.
And I just think that this is, I'm sure you've been doing this for, since you've been doing balancing, et cetera, but I just find it so, I feel this is as such a wondrous period because you're not doing a whole lot of traveling, so you can kind of focus on it, and you have these months, to me, it looks like almost this unlimited summer. It always looks that way at the beginning, right?
Right.
But that you have this time, that you've gifted yourself this time that you can actually do this kind of work, this really intense work.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you. There's this song on social media that for a while, it was like a couple months ago, people were putting over their videos. Oh, and the song was like this guy in a really deadpan voice. He's like, I like to do this. This is fun. This is fun, and I like to do it. I chose to do this all the time because I like it, and it is fun. And I think about that song all the time.
It's like the soundtrack of your summer. It's your summer song. That's your summer song. I love it.
This deadpan voice. But I'm doing it. I'm like, I like to do this, and this is fun. Like, what am I doing?
I know. When you forget, when you're weeping, then this wonderful voice from on high. Right. I like to do this.
You like this. This is fun for you. This is fun, and you like to do it.
And then you say, yes, thank you, voice from on high.
Thank you, TikTok voice.
Well, please do keep us apprised of your development. But thank you for sharing that, because that's what I see, like on Instagram and things like that. I see the highs for the most part, and so I see the comments where your friends are like, "You go, girl," and I'm in awe, and I wish I could do this, and all that kind of stuff. And we don't see the other stuff. So thank you so much for yes. And there's a reason for that.
I don't post me crying in the corner in the closet of the gym, which I don't know if I said that I train in the closet of the gym sometimes because some of the drills are put me in positions I just don't feel comfortable, like twerking against a wall. So, yeah, I should post a picture of me crying in the corner of the gym for myself.
And I would honor that. And I think a lot of your friends who are feeling a little intimidated by you and thinking, well, fuck, we can't do this. Seeing that I don't know if that'll help. Well, actually, it will just make us even more in awe of you, I'm sure.
That's a sweet way of thinking about it. I like that. Well, what about you? You've been having a summer. I've been enjoying witnessing it.
Yes. Well, so I have been traveling. Just got back a couple of days ago from a trip out east. I picked up my college bestie. I drove to Maryland and picked up my college bestie and drove up to Cape Cod with her, and there visited with my cousin who has a place up there, and we stayed there. And then I came back to New Jersey and visited with another cousin and visited with my other college bestie out on Long Island, and a piano student that I have known now for 30 something years, and her kids who are like my godchildren.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's just been wonderful. I've said on a number of occasions, how I've begun to realize how important I think I've always known, but I've started to articulate how important my family is and friends are to me. And it was wonderful having these experiences with them with a real clear sense of that. Before, I've enjoyed it, but I haven't really talked a whole lot about it to myself. So I wasn't like super hyper aware of these moments, these crystalline moments of joy for me, because I'm doing these things that are super important to me. So it was wonderful for that. Plus I ate a lot of good food.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
And drank a lot of good beverages, both adult and non-adult beverages. And, just had a wonderful time. Hiked in the dunes out on the Cape, and went to visit harbors in Long Island, on the North Fork of Long Island, you know, so just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful vacation. I'm back home now, and I'm hoping to try to keep, you know, how when you get back from the vacation, it starts to fade, and I'm trying to keep talking about it so it will fade slower.
You can talk about it to me.
No, thank you. But it was wonderful. I mean, so visiting with, like I said, my favorite piano student from teaching back in the 90s. Oh my God. You know, she now has kids, and her parents drove an hour and a half in traffic to have dinner with me. This is what I mean about, and I sent them this, I sent them all this quote. It's an anonymous quote. It's something about you have family, you have friends, and then you have friends who have become family.
Aww.
And so, you know, just, and got a chance to spend dinner with them at this wonderful Sicilian restaurant in Montclair, New Jersey.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So yeah, it was just a really great couple of weeks.
That's so wonderful. I think I've said this before, but I just love I love how I see you actively choosing to invest time and resources in your connections to your family and your friends who have become family.
And these dear friends do the same. Like I said, these are the ones for my birthday party a few years ago. They didn't have a whole lot of time. My birthday party was on a Saturday night. They flew in Saturday morning, went to my birthday party, and they were out on like a 7 a.m. flight Sunday morning. So we've talked in the past about some of our friendships not being reciprocal. These are incredibly rich reciprocal friendships, and where they are just as invested as I am. And it highlights sometimes the inanity of some of my other relationships. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's another discussion for another day. Yeah, thank you for noticing that and witnessing that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it really inspires me to think about where I'm investing my time and energy, and to make sure. I mean, there's been a number of occasions where I've witnessed you, and then I've kind of run a system check in my own mind about my life.
Preach, queen. That's just like yes. So, shall we get into the guidepost?
Yes.
Okay. So, just a reminder, we did an episode on Brene Brown about 2 months ago now, I think. And one of the things that we mentioned was this from her book, the something of imperfection.
The Gifts of Imperfection.
The Gifts of Imperfection. Thank you. A series of guideposts. And since then, I think I sent you a couple of pictures. You know, I've seen charts, and I've seen, you know, and I had read it years and years ago. And we did one a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago now. And so we're going through, I don't know if we'll do them all, but definitely out the ones that are really meaningful for us in terms of how we're approaching life and the way that we've interacted with a lot of her thinking. And so this one is, just a reminder, this is Guidepost 5, Cultivating Intuition and Trusting Faith. So with each of these, she has something that you're cultivating and something that you're letting go. And then letting go of the need for certainty.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're both kind of, we're that's not a strength of ours.
No.
So, speaking for myself, that's not a strength of mine.
You have witnessed me correctly and accurately, I would say. I do also want to say, we spoke about this more in our other episode. We did a general episode about Brene Brown. That Brene Brown, it does identify as a Christian. So I think sometimes she uses some Christian language in her books, although I find that she uses mostly like a more general language, but she is Christian. And that being said, as someone who isn't Christian, I read her stuff and I just feel like it's spot on.
She sees me. She sees me.
Yeah.
So thank you for that caveat. I really appreciate that. So let's start with the title. What is she cultivating? I'm like speaking Spanish. Cultivating intuition and trusting faith. What is cultivating intuition and trusting faith?
So I went in and I found her definitions for intuition and faith. So I thought that might be a good place to start, if that's okay.
Yeah, totally.
So she defines that intuition is, these are her words, not a single way of knowing. It's our ability to hold space for uncertainty and our willingness to trust the many ways we've developed knowledge and insight, including instinct, experience, faith, and reason. So one of the things that I really like about that definition is that it is both rational and emotional. So,
Yes.
because I always thought of intuition as this like abstract thing that kind of just like floats into my being and floats away.
This woo-woo-ness.
Yes,
Yeah.
right? But whenever I read that definition and then when I read her book, it really seemed to me like intuition is like all of the tools in the toolbox, including my ability to reason. So
Yes.
it's because I had thought that it was intuition is different than reason, but her definition brings it all together.
Yes.
It's all of the ways that I know, including my rational brain, plus all this other stuff.
Exactly. That ability to take knowledge, to take facts, and weave them together with all of the other ways that you have of making decisions or evaluating material. And so some of that might be your brain, some of it might be your heart or your spirit or whatever. Yeah, I love that.
I do too, and I think that it's not what I thought.
No, it's not. I think we've talked in the past that I've focused a lot. I've invested a lot of my support of life decisions and my interactions with life in my brain. And it might, if I do say so myself, I think my brain's a pretty pretty ample tool. And it's only one tool, right? So they say if all you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail.
Yes.
And I've gone through life just that way. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm a witch, so I should be a little more woo woo. And then I kept trying to like be just woo woo. That's the thing,
Uh-huh.
And I didn't have I didn't trust that. I didn't have faith in that. And I began to create a way of interacting with the world that she has described. I mean, but I didn't realize until I read this in the book a long time ago, that she articulated what I thought was my unique way of interacting with the world, right? So, okay, whatever.
And like when I think about it from this perspective, I lose something whenever I only approach life from a rational perspective, or I only approach it from like I'm sensing, like using my air quotes, what I thought was intuition, which was devoid of reason.
Oh, yes.
So I'm losing out. But then if I look at it from her definition, which is using all of my ways of knowing, that makes so much sense. And also, like, I remember whenever I learned, I learned about it in our circle, of the different ways of knowing. You can know by like sensing something, like by seeing, or I might hear something, like I might hear it, or I might know it in my brain, like it just might pop up. I might feel it in my body, like all of our senses are ways of knowing. And mine is primarily like I hear it in my brain or I sense it in my body. Those are my two main ways of knowing. But then when I think about it, ways of knowing.
No, yes.
To know, like in my brain. So like, why would I be like, let me tell you about all the ways of knowing, but then I leave out like my rational brain.
Right.
Like, doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
Like, it's literally called ways of knowing. But I think it speaks to the way that I have taken in messages about not trusting those ways or separating them from the rational. So.
Right. It's a societal thing, right? So our society has taught us to value the knowledge that is usually manipulated mentally, right? And the other stuff, to not really trust it because it could lead you astray. That's a very, I was going to say Christian, but it's very, what are the religions with one God? I forget. There's a term. Monotheistic way of thinking, because many of them prize the knowledge. They're all called the religions of the book, right? So that's the way that they can, and because books, with your mind, you can access you can access and evaluate and et cetera, rules and things like that. So we've been taught, we've been culturally conditioned to prize that. and to kind of poo-poo other ways of knowing. And so, we're just a product of our society. And then, I found that I actually swung in, when I decided to embrace other parts of myself, that I swung in the opposite direction. And one of the things that she's advocating is, one of the things that I'm interpreting her as advocating is that, it's a spectrum. And sometimes you're on one end of the spectrum because of the best way to handle a situation might be to privilege a certain part. And so there's a balance, but you don't necessarily have to be there. It doesn't have to be all of these things at the same time. And so I love this idea that we've said this in a number of occasions about our being our own authority. And part of that authority is recognizing which tools we need to bring to which party, right?
Yeah. And I shared that my ways of knowing are, my primary ways of knowing are that I feel it in my body. Like I feel it in this like upper area of my rib cage, like in my gut area. Like it's like an alarm. It'll go off whenever something is like right. Or I know it. It's like almost like hearing it in my brain, but it's not hearing. Like it like pops into my brain and I'm like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be. Right. Like opening up a piece of mail in my brain. Woohoo! Do you happen to know what your ways of knowing are?
Yeah. So, I for many, many years I've said that I'm kind of energetically challenged. So I'm not sure what things were, but I've really been working on that in the past couple of years. And so, what I now recognize as knowing something is an actual just appearance of, say, the information or the knowledge in my head. Sometimes it's not clear, and that's when I ask questions. I think I put that in an outline somewhere. And I feel yes and no. And then I have a voice that is really, really, really kind of very sarcastic. I like to call it, like a guardian angel or something like that. But it's usually, it sounds, I used to think it sounded like a certain person in my life, but it doesn't. I don't know exactly what it sounds like, but it's usually very ironic. And so, and it points out what I recognize a second after it says it was obvious. Oh. So I hear that. But I like, yes, is this real clarity in my head. I just feel open and bright and sparkly and shiny and new, and no is like this heaviness in my belly.
Wow.
But I've been working on that for the past couple of years. So
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I love that. So I'm noticing that you and I both feel it in our bodies, but even though like we both experience the same categorical type of knowing in our bodies, it shows up totally differently for you and I. Yeah. So I just think that that's a really awesome example of how it might be different for every single person.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Everyone. Yeah. And one of the things I think when people start working on their intuition, I'm doing quotes up here, air quotes, their intuition. I think one of the things that is encouraged is just sitting and then just feeling, like you say, articulating, how do I know what I know? And recognizing all of these different ways, and we operate in these planes, and we operate with all of these ways of knowing, in many cases, unknowingly, but just having that sense, that really intentional focus on how do I know this, I think also actually helps to develop it a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah. I did bring a book. This is, I brought a book from my master's degree. So this was not a book that I like sought out, other than I sought out a master's degree. But
well, good for you.
But it's called the Intuition Workbook. I didn't do the whole thing, but I did some of it. We did certain sections for like a certain classes in my master's degree. But I found it to be really cool. Nancy Rosanoff, Rosanoff. But I mean, this was from like the 2010s ish. So there could be cooler, newer, more awesome books, but I found this to be really cool. So it was something that was really helpful for me.
And something that...
Oh, it's called Intuition Workout. Sorry, not Intuition
Workout.
Workbook.
Oh,
sorry.
Ooh, I like that.
Work It.
Work
okay,
it.
sorry, I
yes.
interrupted.
No, that's great. That's fine. What's the other book?
Oh, I'm going to share this one later.
Okay. So, one of the things that speaking of books that I have been dabbling, not super consistently, but dabbling with, you gave me for either my birthday or Yule or something, I can't remember, a journaling workbook.
Yes, I did. I love it so much. I have one too.
Yes. And so I do that, and I find that because it asks questions. And anytime I'm asked a question, I have to come up with an answer, which is a knowing, right? Mm-hmm. And so I've been doing some work with that, and it also helps me to kind of focus on, okay, where am I feeling this? Where am I thinking about this? How am I thinking about this, and why? So thank you. Yay. And so we're in my craft room, which is also my guest best bedroom, and I have a guest, so nothing is where it should be right now. So when I find it, I'll put it in the show notes or something, or the tags or whatever.
So maybe we could move on
Yes.
to defining faith. Yeah, no biggie, right?
Yeah, no biggie. Well, let's talk about how Brené Brown defines faith, and then we can kind of bounce off of that. Okay.
So Brené Brown defines faith as a place of mystery where we find the courage to believe in what we cannot see and the strength to let go of our fear of uncertainty.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, another easy check done.
Okay. Yeah, we can move on. Yeah. So, and what I love about her definition is she takes the kind of conventional, or what I perceive as the conventional thinking about faith, which is, I'm going to believe this regardless. Let me take that back. There was a lot of judgment in what I was going. Well, she takes the conventional, what I perceive as the conventional definition of faith, and she enriches it. Mm-hmm. And that idea of sometimes you just can't see something, but you believe in it. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, I have to say, if I'm going to believe in something, if I'm going to really believe in it, I'm going to let go of the fear that I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. Right? That by believing in this, that there's a possibility that I'm making a mistake. Mm-hmm. Right? And so that's super scary. That is super, 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 super scary, because I want to make something. I want to make what I believe right. And so the faith, here it is. I don't want to have faith. I don't want to have to believe in something. I want to make it real. So I want to take out, there it is. I want to take out any possibility that I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. And which is my control issues. We've talked about my control issues.
We've talked about both of our control issues. You're not alone in that.
Yeah. So tell me what are your thoughts after reading that?
I have a couple. The first is that, so I actually double checked in her book. Mm-hmm. I went back and looked, and she does not capitalize the M of mystery.
Ah, okay.
And because her definition says a place of mystery where we find courage to believe in what we cannot see and the strength to let go of the fear of uncertainty. Mm-hmm. So I went back and I actually looked because to me mystery is witchy as fuck.
Yes, it is. Oh,
right?
So, yes.
Like to me, I remember first when I first joined our circle and someone mentioned mystery, I immediately thought of the little magnifying glass that was stuck on the mystery books in my elementary school library. Oh, it was like a sticker, because I'm assuming we were too young to read, or at least read a lot. Mm-hmm. So like there were these like stickers that our librarian would put on the book, so you would know if it was a mystery or not. Though, anyways, that was the first thing that popped into my head. Yeah. But mystery is Nancy Drew. Mystery is Sherlock Holmes. Mm-hmm. Mystery is a magnifying glass. And I remember asking a person in our circle, what is mystery? Mm-hmm. Because I thought it was like a crime to solve.
So something that you didn't know until you did know it.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's like detective work, and you figure it out along the way. And I remember that person looking at me and just being like just giving me this look of like a sweet summer child,
just rest with us for a year or two, my
right.
dear. Yeah.
But
yeah.
and she gave me some sort of definition, which I don't even remember what she said. All I remember thinking is like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But on the outside, I was like, okay, But then as I worked with mystery with a capital M.
With a capital M. With a big S.
Big S capital M. That's whenever I realized the fullness of what mystery is, which is this, to me, mystery is it is where all of knowing rivers flow and pour into the unknown.
Right.
Like that's just my own definition of like my own working definition of what mystery is. It is where my ability to understand stops, and I stand at that ledge and I look over and I see all that I can never fully see.
Yeah.
And know that it is there, but I cannot know it. That's what mystery is to me. And so whenever I look at this definition, to me, it's a really interesting insight into what I think is like where she's coming from a Christian perspective with the lowercase mystery, and I'm coming from a witch perspective with the uppercase mystery. But we're both holding that same space. We really are. We really are. I think we just are approaching it, I think, pretty similarly, but from two different perspectives.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love how you put that with all the rivers, because to me, mystery with the capital M is all of these. So I'm thinking veils, and you're thinking rivers, right? But all of these veils, and then you go through these veils, and you know, and you feel, and you sense, and then you go a little bit further, and there's more veils. Like, yeah. And it's not. I don't know this shit. I've got to keep going till I figure this out. It's more like, oh, I didn't know this. I didn't know. Oh, wow, I didn't. You know what I mean? So the knowing is not a done, check, let's move on. The knowing is a sensory experience of knowing. It's a condition, not a fact. Does that make sense?
Oof.
And so when you have that knowing, then it's time for the next knowing, and you rejoice and you delight, and it washes over you, and then you have the next one, and the beauty of this is knowing that you will that you will never know it all, and you can continue until the world ends to experience more and more knowings.
Yes.
Yeah. And the uncertainty is that you don't know what you're going to know. You don't, I can say, I want to know what it's like to have a trance about, experiencing greed. Okay. So, and so that's an intention, and I might be able to experience that, but to me, the uncertainty is, I can, but what I think I'm going to be doing when I experience greed is going to be totally different from, you know what I mean? And so the knowing is an actual place of having the experience and having the knowledge that's going to immediately change the next time I go in and try to, quote unquote, air quotes, do the same thing again. Does that make any sort of sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Jeez.
Yeah. So yay.
And the other thing I wanted to say is the last part of her definition. It says the strength to let go of the fear of uncertainty. When I first read this definition, I actually thought about how I might disagree with it, but then because for me, it is not a place of not having fear. I have fear.
Oh yeah. Yes.
But then as I read it, and I could just be nitpicking words, but she says the fear of uncertainty. So I was like, okay, so maybe like it's letting go of that part of the fear, but there still is fear for me. Like it still is a scary place. Like it's a vulnerable place, and where there's vulnerability, there can be fear for me. So I just wanted to state, like, this is not, I am not some sort of like bodhisattva, like floating around with no fear or anything. No. Like it is like a scary thing for me, being in that vulnerable place.
Yeah. I think letting go of the fear of uncertainty is not, I agree with you, it's not saying I won't have fear, but I think it's letting go of the fear of the fear. It's just, I'm going to have fear. And so letting go of the desire to not have fear is the letting go part for me. Because because it's uncertainty and you don't know. And so I think that might be a difference between how she's expressing it and how we're talking about it, and maybe a more conventional where it's, I have faith, so I'm going out in the unknown, and I'm taking the next step, and I'm taking the next step, and I'm taking the next step, and there may be fear, but I'm going to ignore it, and so it's not that we're ignoring it, we're acknowledging it, as a part of that, but acknowledging the fact that there's going to be fear. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I love that you say the fear of the fear. For me, I would say the majority of the time, fear of fear is worse than the fear itself.
Oh, that's the thing itself. Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Like all of the fear I have of going to the dentist is normally worse than the actual trip to the dentist.
Yes.
But
yes, exactly.
Boy, oh boy, do I use a lot of time and energy and thought of just like generating that fear. I'm doing it right now. I'm feeling it right now.
Thank you for sharing that authentic moment with us. When is your next dentist appointment?
It's in August.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well you might want to.
And I'm spending a lot of my summer break.
Yeah, I was gonna say focus on like a closer fear.
Being afraid. Like every morning when I wake up, I'm like, is that a toothache? I think that's a toothache. No, it's fine. It's fine.
You'll be fine.
Okay, so we just spent a lot of time, I guess it's the English teacher in me, going over some definitions, but I just thought that it was pretty juicy because I like definitions. I like that. But maybe let's jump into a little bit of like, so after we kind of talked about those definitions, what are your thoughts on this guidepost?
Yeah, so that the idea of cultivating intuition, it's a term that we use a lot, and my personal thinking about it is that intuition is basically me listening to the world, listening to my divinity, listening to the divine within, and as opposed to me just trying to be this little cog making all of these decisions. I have this wealth of knowledge available to me if I just open myself up to it. So and again, as I say, this is a relatively new, I would say the past 15, 20 years that I've really begun to explore this I've really begun to explore this. So and this has changed dramatically over the past 20 years. So if you ask me next year, this might be different. But for me, it's kind of listening to the divine within and opening myself up to this knowledge that I just know is there. What about with you?
I think it's really similar to you, and that it's that knowing and trusting myself with a capital S. And then knowing that is that self, capital S self, is both simultaneously me, but also the sacred. And that by, like you said, opening yourself up to all of the input, it is both empowering and humbling.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yes. I feel simultaneously super empowered because this is what I believe is best for me.
Right.
And so I believe, but then it also is super humbling because it's also for me, it's like, I do believe this is what is best for me. And I am making this call and I am using my intuition, but my intuition is not all me. In fact, it's mostly not me. So it's humbling, yes. It's humbling to think that like you said, you're you're not this like singular cog, but really just really bowing down to this knowing that I'm accessing this wealth of wisdom and knowledge that is far bigger than me. And I'm allowing it to come in. I'm allowing myself to listen. I'm allowing myself to process it and use it and then put it into place in a way that, and I don't know if some people are listening to this and like think that I sound totally full of myself, but it really is a humbling experience because it's like recognizing that I'm a speck of dust in the Grand Canyon, Yes. Or I'm a star in this huge galaxy of galaxies. It's like, understanding that that my capital S self is really not even me. It's way bigger than that. This is so resonating for me because this kind of works, helped me to develop a lot of the issues that I've been working on within myself. And one is the sense of worthiness, right? Mm-hmm. And, who am I to think that I
I'm listening to the wisdom of the universe. Who am I to think that the divine is talking specifically to me, right? And I think it's Marianne Williamson who says, "And who are you to think that it's not?" You know,
Right.
like what gives you the right to think that you're the only one that the universe is not talking to? You know, so it's also helped me to work because I've had a lot of issues with feeling unworthy and not deserving, etc. And so there's this huge, wonderful kind of interactive experience that I'm a part of. You know, the river. Let's use that analogy. This river, and I'm a drop in that river. And so, I delight in that sense of being one with all. And I also use it to decide if I'm going to have oatmeal or eggs. That you know, I've only in the past few months said, you know, instead of me saying what's best for me, let me read, you know, all these articles on the internet. Why don't I ask my body what is going to be the best thing for? And it's like, why haven't I done this before? You know, and so I've been trying to really be intentional at the grocery store when I'm buying stuff. What's going to be the best for my body this week? Should I get this fruit or should I get that? Or and just I've just been playing with that a whole lot with making decisions, and it's been wonderful.
I love that. And instead of I think this is a great piece of wisdom, which is instead of waiting to use one's intuition for something big like medical treatment. What if it's a muscle just like anything else? What if we strengthened it with what type of fruit should I eat this week? And I'm going to stand at the grocery store and I'm going to look at the grapes, the strawberries, and the blueberries, and I'm going to sense.
laugh. But this is what I'm telling you. Where was I? This was when I was up in at the Cape. We were in the produce section, and this is that remember that clarity or the gut, the heaviness in the gut. I would just put my hand on something clear. Let's get some of that. I'm telling you. And then a couple of things was like, no. Because one of the things I've been working through is, you know, do I need to be gluten free and all this? And so asking questions about food. Like I said, it's been relatively new, but it's been fun.
I love that. And my laughing is not, this is silly. My laughing is just like yes.
Like a delight.
Like, duh. Because it just makes so much sense, you know, instead of being like should I buy this house or not? You know,
should I marry this person or should I do this kind of like you say, medical treatment, or should I, you know, give up my career? You can just ask, you know, Jif or whatever.
You know. Shower or bath tonight?
Yes,
which one is best for me?
I know. Yeah. Journal or tarot.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. It's like little, you know, so I just think this is not necessarily about the episode, but so much for me of being a witch is unlearning.
There we go.
You know, and it's like these little moments like this.
I see you.
know?
I see you.
Yes. Yeah. You know, creamy or crunchy,
yes.
you know.
Exactly.
But it's like these tiny, you know, life is like these tiny little moments, and it's like standing in front of the peanut butter at my local grocer and like sensing peanut butter or crunchy, peanut butter or crunchy.
And that idea of it being a muscle. And that's so true. It's like anything else. You can trust something more when you know it's guided you in the past, right? And, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Deep.
So it really is, right? Smooth or crunchy. It's really deep. Like when you think about it, right?
Yeah. And to make and so for me as a Libra, I second, third, and fourth guess pretty much. I used to second. So the story I told myself up until a couple of months is that I second and third and fourth guess every decision I make. But now when I can say, first of all, I'm not making the decision. I and the collective wisdom of the universe is making the decision. Crunchy, you know. So it's so I could say, well, what would smooth taste like, and the decision might be, you know what, you can try that next week, you know. And so it's really liberating for people like me who have, I'm sure the Geminis will probably agree with me too, you know, but it's really liberating for me because I can give up that, well, what if, you know, it's a decision that I'm making at this moment. It's a decision that we're all making at this moment, and yay. It's fun. Yeah. It's fun making it's never been fun making the decision. I hated making decisions in the past. So, but now it's changed.
I think this is something we talked about in one of our earliest episodes about witchcraft and this concept of I'm clarifying.
Yeah, sure.
I'm clarifying my thought. This concept of like, if we're just going to go back to smooth versus crunchy peanut butter.
Why not? I think
or your
that's an
fruit,
analogy
like you like laid your hands on the fruit, right? In the supermarket. So, if you are laying your hands on the fruit and using your own sense of knowing, and I think using something as simple as fruit is like a really good way to access this. It's really hard to make money off of you. Because,
oh my gosh, yes.
Because you are not being controlled by marketing. You're not being driven by societal's expectations of beauty and 7 ways to look sexier this summer in a bikini. Avoid watermelon. I don't know, I'm making something up,
Yeah, but still, exactly.
Like you are really pulling yourself out of this system of treating you like something to make money off of and control, which, can be from like the marketing perspective or from maybe a more traditional religious perspective where you are somebody to be controlled as like somebody in the parish or as a woman. Like there's lots of ways, and I know we've done an episode about this before. There's just lots of these forces that our culture uses to put us in our place so that we can be that cog, and also to make money off of us and control us. And whenever you lay your hands on an apple in a grocery store, I'm physically, I can see it in my mind. You like putting your hand on the apple or the pear or whatever. And it's just like, everything is like, all of the cogs are exploding.
Yes. You're stepping off that whole wheel of the society. You're or they may not explode. They keep circling or whatever. And I'm just out of it.
Yeah.
I just like, floating in your river. With my apple. Yes, I love that.
And that's super empowering because you're not listening to that, dieting magazine or that person who told you what you're supposed to believe, or our culture which says it is trying to sell you something because you don't look or act a certain way. And I just see you gently you're just stepping off of that. And picking this pear.
Yeah, I love that. I no, it's a wonderful analogy, and it's it's super empowering, isn't it? It's just one of these things where, and it's not necessarily that I'm super powerful, but I am because I'm tapping into this power that is there, right? And this knowledge, this knowing, this whatever. So yeah, and I one of the things that I've always thought is that being witchy has this power available all the time, and so I think I'm becoming witchier. We've talked about like not imposter syndrome, but like, am I witchy enough, or am I really? And so like,
witchiness doesn't always have to look like standing in a circle with my arms up, like invoking Hecate. It can look like
picking a pear.
Yeah, picking up a pear.
Getting your crunchy peanut butter. So yeah, it's amazingly powerful, empowering. Yeah.
I love that so much. Yeah, and it's moments like this where I'm just so grateful to get to be around, to be a part of a circle, and to be in relationship with people, especially you, where I experience these moments of empowerment and validation, where I can feel powerful picking a certain type of peanut butter,
Well, you are powerful, but recognizing. See, I think as a group, we recognize things that the dominant culture would not recognize. Yes. And so you have this moment of clarity, like, damn, I'm like fabulous, right? Yeah.
Right, imagine. So this is my desire. All of our listeners go grocery shopping and they're standing in front of the fruit section. And it's just like beacons of light, just like boom, like bat signals going up all over the world as people.
Yeah, and coalescing and becoming this huge bright light that knocks us into the 5th dimension.
Yes, please. Yay! Yes, please. My arms are up. And so it is. So mote it be.
So mote it be. There we go. I love it. Yes. So, So let's maybe flip to another, the part that we're letting go. So we're talking about the part that we're cultivating. Let's talk about the part that we're letting go of, shall we? Okay, so the letting go part, the letting go of uncertainty. So again, I think what we're talking about is not letting go of the fear of uncertainty, letting go of the fear of uncertainty, but letting go of the fear, right? Mm-hmm. And so here's the thing for me is that I have prided myself over the years as an academic, as someone whose identity was firmly invested in my mind, in grounding myself in things that could be proven. So, do I have that? Yeah. So, that idea of, looking at something, I can, cite my sources. I can, the things that, if I were to explain to you why I chose something, I could say, there were these articles, there was this, there was that, and the other. And so I made that decision. And just saying, well, I felt it or I sensed it with some people, not with you, obviously, but with some people would say, and you're going to do that, and for many years I would have responded in the same way. So I by not citing my sources or whatever, by not, proving to people, by not having a quote unquote logical by society standards reason for making decisions, I have to then acknowledge myself as my own authority. And I, we've been working with this, we've been grappling with that, but that is scary, not in this room with you on the podcast, but that's scary when I'm at my university. That's scary, not so much scary in the supermarket, I think, because I've grown past that, as we know now, but you know what I mean? Uh-huh. But, and I think what it is that I have to then rest in faith about this and rest in that vulnerability of saying that this is the right decision for me, even when I can't necessarily tell someone else why. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's scary. It's scary. And I'm trying to embrace the scary right now. Wasn't that a Spice Girl?
Scary Spice?
Yeah, Scary Spice. Yeah, I'm trying to embrace scary.
So I'm just imagining you like hugging her,
like holding. I'm going to get a little Scary Spice doll.
You and Scary Spice, just like I'm just embracing the scary,
embracing the scary. Exactly. What about with you?
Yes. I mean everything that you said. Just yes. Mm-hmm. Like we did an episode called Control (Issues), right? And I think we talked a lot about this then, but I find a sense of control to be really satisfying because a lot of times I have felt very out of control in my life. And then, as a child or as somebody who's smaller, like I have been out of control in ways that have been very scary for me. And one of the ways that I've coped with that is, well, that's okay. Well, then I'm just going to make sure that I am always the one in control. I'm going to be the teacher. I'm going to be the leader. I'm going to be the one who drives my car. If we're going to carpool, that's fine. I'll drive.
Feeling you.
Because these are all like ways that I can, that feel safer to me because I am the one in control. And then, that's like, that's related, but like on a microcosm level, like that is a way I navigate life, or I have navigated life. And understanding that for me, that if I use up all this energy where I'm controlling, if I'm trying to control things, because the truth of it is like control is an illusion, it just gives me a false sense of peace, but really it's not. Like an asteroid could fall out of the sky and hit me right now, like that's the truth. And like shit like that happens every day. I could be struck by lightning right now. Or on my way over here, somebody could be making choices and hit me and my life can, like life is a chaos lottery.
Ooh, I love that.
And at every moment, like life, like as much as I believe, and I do believe that like there are things that I am doing in this life that I am sent here to do. Like I believe that. I believe that there's a sacred, I have a sacred calling and that I have a sacred purpose here and I'm meant to do things and things are meant to happen. And I believe all of that. And I also, at the same time, because I'm a witch and I can live in paradox, I also believe that it's just like every moment of my life is a chaos lottery. And sometimes my number gets pulled for things, you know?
Sometimes it's your time.
Yeah. And sometimes my number gets pulled for like amazing chaos lottery things, you know? And sometimes my number gets pulled for like super, what I believe is super shitty things.
Exactly.
You know? But that's just the way that it is. And the whole point of this is like, if I am constantly using my time and my energy to try and control, I'm using up all my time and my energy on something that is impossible. You're trying to control the uncontrollable. Exactly. That doesn't mean that I don't put my seatbelt on when I, you know, and just say like, well, if it's my time, it's my time, you know. Absolutely not. I put that seatbelt on, you know. But it's like, how much can I actually control? Well, I'm going to put my seatbelt on, ask Hermes to guide me, you know, and then I'm going.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Like, but if I put in all that other energy, then I'm just dumping it down a pit where it's going nowhere because I can't control it.
Right. Which, and I have to say, in the past, has been a controlling mechanism for me, because by focusing on that, then I'm not focusing on my personal development, right? I'm not focusing on the real hard stuff, because I'm focusing on stuff that will never actually take place, you know. And so, yeah, feeling you.
Like just a little tidbit of like one of the ways this manifests for me is snacks. When I travel, I bring so much food and snacks.
You do?
I've
traveled with you, so I know. and pretty good snacks, I must say.
Thank you. But like the opportunity is like, whenever I'm going to travel, I pack so many snacks, because what if I'm hungry? What if I need something to eat? What if there's not something there? It's, you know, and so I pack like 6,000 snacks. Wait, I pack way too many snacks, you know.
Well, I don't know, because I don't see the extent of this. I just see that see them when they come out. You see them
when they pop out. But like, I don't think there's anything wrong with packing snacks. But I pack like, when I went to Las Vegas in, I think it was a
couple of months ago,
March. I'm still eating the snacks.
This is now summer. I think you brought them to one of our
yes, I did. This is spring, or this is summer, and I purchased it in the spring, and I'm still eating the snacks. So I'm just saying, like, I buy way too many snacks. But if I allow myself just to bring all of the snacks, I'm missing the opportunity to think about why. Why, Leilani? Why are you bringing that many snacks? What's the
hole that you're filling?
Exactly. Well, I'm bringing the snacks because I'm worried that I'm going to be hungry. Why are you worried you're going to be hungry? Well, sometimes there's not food for me. Okay, well, like, what's about that worry? Well, sometimes my needs aren't taken care of. Well, why are you worried about that? Well, there's been times in the past where I felt like my needs are not important, and then my needs don't get met by others around me, so I'm the only one that's left. Okay, so then, like, let's dig deeper about that.
Oh my gosh,
you know,
that's so
and
incredible.
Like, ultimately, if I keep digging, because there's, you know, it's like Shrek and an onion. You know, if I keep peeling back those layers, if I keep digging, then what I realize is, like, it's hard for me to trust that things are going to be okay. So the overpacking of snacks is a time whenever I can sit and say, you know what, I'm going to be okay.
Wow.
Like, let's take a couple snacks just in case, but that's actually one of the reasons why I like traveling with you. I know I can count on you. I know that you're invested in my well-being. I don't think you're going to take care of me. Like, you know, I'm not like some like infant that needs coddling, but I do know that you care about me and my well-being is important to you, and that I'm not alone in this. Yes. And like, there are moments where I say that and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just bring one box of granola bars instead of like all of the things.
And a pear.
Right? A divinely selected pair.
Exactly. But it's amazing. I mean, we've talked about this in the control episode, how so many of the things that we don't trust, if we explore, if we sit in the uncertainty, if we like keep going, so I don't know this, why is that? And keep digging and digging and digging, it's actually another powerful way that we can explore ourselves and, gain more trust in our intuition, right? Gain more trust, have more faith in what we're doing. Yeah, but woof.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think gaining more, like you just said, gaining more trust. The biggest thing for me, that the biggest blocker of my intuition is fear. And fear for me is the thing that can cloud my intuition, or I can mistake as intuition. And I have moments where I say to myself, okay, Leilani, is this fear or is this intuition? Which one is it?
Ooh,
sometimes I know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know. I was just on a roller coaster a couple days ago. I went to SeaWorld with a friend, and we were riding a roller coaster, and we were going up the roller coaster.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what it means. I think this is like what it means to be a witch for me. I'm going up the roller coaster, and I'm like, and then the park was pretty empty, so we're on the very front. We're the only two people on the whole roller coaster.
I love that place.
And we crest the top of the hill for
the first one. It's always the best.
And this is like the largest roller coaster that we have at this park. And I look over, and I have this moment of like fear, and I'm like, I shouldn't have done this. This is bad. People die on roller coasters. And then I had this thought: is this fear or is this my intuition?
Do you have this on the roller coaster?
And this is like in a split second I'm on the top, and I think my friend is just like, "Woo!" And meanwhile I'm like, "Is this fear or intuition? What's the difference between the two? Which one am I experiencing right now?"
So you know what I'm picturing? I'm literally picturing. You know how they have the cameras there? Yeah. I'm picturing the picture of your friend with the hands up, and you having like this moment of
like this existential moment.
Yeah. And it's great because I think it was you that talked about that moment of suspension. Was it you that was so that moment of suspension actually lasts. It lasts like milliseconds or whatever, but it feels as if it's forever, right? And so you had time to have this discussion.
I really did. I know on this side of the veil it was a millisecond, but on the other side of the veil,
you had a whole conversation.
I was doing some major personal work.
I'm so happy to hear that this was a wonderful opportunity for you to delve deeply into yourself.
Yes, fear versus intuition. I was figuring that out at the top of the roller coaster.
But there's a lot in there to unpack, but one of the things that I find really telling is when you were talking about the fear, because one of the things that Brene Brown has, with all of these guideposts, is that you're cultivating something and you're letting go of a fear of something. And the idea being that fears are the reasons why we're often not living the lives, the fullest lives that we can, right? Because I don't know if I'm going to use the terminology that we're choosing that fear, but that fear has developed in our lives in many cases as a coping mechanism, as a way of actually keeping us from harm. And then, we either hold on to it or whatever. There's various ways that those fears continue to manifest in our lives. But that idea of letting go of that, of all of the thing, not the fear itself, because like you said, the fear is just the symptom, but going below the fear and then figuring out how that fear developed and what it's bolstering, et cetera, is incredible work, right?
Yeah, and I wonder if it's work that, I wonder if it's a life's work, a lifetime of work. I don't know. I don't know if it'll ever be gone. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think, so here's the thing. What I'm thinking is, like, we have all these guideposts and different ways of approaching life, right? And depending on who you are, some of those fears are going to be huge, some of them not so much. For some of them, if you work on the cultivating part, it's probably going to take care of the fear, right? But for some of them, for us to be able to do the cultivating part, we're going to have to delve into the fear. And I think every person's going to be different, and each of those guideposts are going to be different for each individual person.
I don't see everybody taking snacks.
I don't see, but so one of the things that one of the services I provide is not only being there for you and being supportive, but also helping you to eat your snacks.
You do.
So if you're having just a few too many, they're weighing you down or whatever, you can depend on Kimberlyn to.
You also are we also go to the club.
Oh, the club.
And you always get me cheese and wine.
And oatmeal. Yeah, remember the oatmeal in the morning?
Yes.
Yeah, and the yogurts and stuff. So.
You just have a way, you have a way of making me feel taken care of, but also empowered.
Oh,
which is just like a really great place to be. Because I don't feel infantilized,
Oh, gotcha.
But I do feel taken care of.
like an adult.
Yeah, like you'll bring me some cheese, but you also like give me space to like process why I am, putting the cheese in my bag. Like why I feel the need to like hoard the cheese.
So just for clarity, the purpose of clarity, we're talking about when we travel, when we fly, I have a United Club membership, so you can go into the lounge and eat stuff
so wonderful.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's a great thing.
Man, you have taught me so much about the way to live life.
Snap. I appreciate that. Thank you. So we've talked about cultivating intuition or the why and etc. What are the ways that we individually cultivate intuition? You want to get started, or shall I?
Yeah, one of the ways that I feel like I cultivate intuition that may not be like commonly known is through my body. So I think there's something really freeing about dancing.
Oh, right. Yes. We've talked about that.
And
yes.
So like, let's say like I'll be at the club and I'm dancing.
Not the United Club.
Right. So this is a different type of club, like a dance club. And I'm just allowing my body to move in the way that it wants to move.
Oh, gotcha.
And so I'm just allowing my body to sense and intuit how it wants to express itself. And like that can sound, I don't know how that sounds, but that means that I'm not, when I'm there at the club, I'm not trying to do a certain type of move. I'm not trying to look sexy or whatever it is that people want to look like. I don't even know. Like this, I'm off of that end of the, I'm not plugged in that way. But I'm just I'm using the music. For me, the music, the lights, the energy are all things that magically come together to create this really great container for me to just allow my body to move and to intuit that sense of knowing and expression. And so for some people, that may not be the purpose for which they are going to the dance club. But for me, similar to picking out apples or pears at the grocery store, this is an opportunity for me to strengthen my intuitive skills.
Right.
And for me, being at the club, I know other people do like ecstatic dance, or hooping or like whatever it is. Like there's a lot, there's a lot of ways where open-ended movement practices can offer people that space to do that. And sometimes I look ridiculous, and that's okay.
As far as you know, you don't know, right? Because you're in a different space, yeah?
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought up dance, because I think music does that for me, and it's less the activity as being it's less intuition as influencing the activity, and more that the activity actually gives me insight. So singing, chanting, dancing, drumming, etc. Often, so for example, I will start just singing with pop songs or whatever, and sometimes just like one sentence in the course of singing, one sentence will spark something for me, and I find that I can go off on that, and the music continues, and I may even actually continue singing along with it, or the next song that comes up, but then I start kind of delving with that one phrase or whatever, and working with that. So and music is super powerful for me. Worded music, symphonies, and there will be just like a lick or two, or the whole experience where I feel as if if I allow this to happen, I'm allowing myself to really tap into the all, to the divine or the sacred, and I come back from that experience with a better sense of self. And so it's not I don't know if we necessarily call that intuition, but it's definitely tapping into that same thing that I then draw upon when I need a tool, if that makes sense. I think it just makes it easier for me to get into that space where all those tools are available to me. And so, again, like a muscle. So the more I listen to sublime music, the easier it later becomes for me to tap into, whether I need that apple or not.
As you were speaking, a random thought that I had that I've never really thought about before. I wonder if people experience that with cooking.
I'm sure.
How people are like, I've heard people say, oh, I don't really follow the recipe. I just, use a dash of this and a dash of that. And I wonder if...
Oh, yes.
I wonder if that is...
Cooking can be incredibly magical and intuitive. Very intuitive. I mean, and I would suspect a lot of activities, depending on your how you're interacting with your environment, can be that way. I can't imagine... I think of gardening. I think of, even digging, like ditch digging, I mean, and I don't mean it like even, but I mean, I can imagine any activity, maybe not, there's probably some, if you think of some listeners, kind listeners, please let us know through social media. But I would imagine that there are activities that maybe don't tap into that, but I would think that they're few and far between. I think the majority of activities can be ones in which you allow yourself to experience that. Yeah.
Watching the woman that you and I both know who used to be my roommate, like watching her paint, or another woman that we know, she does like daily doodles, like tangles.
Yes.
I'm just imagining a lot of that is intuitive, where I've never really considered that until this moment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Particularly when, just letting the divine guide your hand or whatever. Yes, totally.
A practice for me is tarot.
Oh yeah.
Like, tarot is like a very, and tarot, I just think for me is just such a really great balance of like structure.
Because you know what
but also total lack of it. It's like all of the structure mixed with total intuition and freedom.
Oh yeah.
And it's and I think that's why I really like it.
Yes. I didn't know that. I didn't know that at first about me or about tarot or about whatever the experience. But the more I delve into that kind of, the paradox and okay, this is kind of the conventional, and then what am I doing with that? And then what does that mean in this case between these other two cards, right? In context, is really a rich experience for me and an opportunity for me to further develop. So it's a practice of using my intuition, but it also enriches my intuition, I think, my intuition toolbox. And so tarot, journaling, writing in general, but journaling is another opportunity. Sometimes I do. Have you ever written are you right-handed or left-handed? Have you ever written with your non-dominant hand?
Yeah, I don't like it because it's not nice, but
it's not pretty.
Yeah.
Well, you can burn it after, which is another. Maybe that's another episode.
Do you burn your journals?
No.
Okay.
I keep saying I'm going to, but every time I start reading them again.
I know people who burn their journal at the end of the year, and I'm just like, why?
Yeah, I know. I think I burnt one once, and I swore I'd never do it again. Yeah, it was like, because I think I did it once, and I was like, okay. And then the next time I was going to try it, I started reading, and it's like, well, let's just put this one aside.
I have literally used my journals as resources so many times, both for things like, how did I do this ritual, or how did I do this thing? Also as like, did this thing actually happen? And I go back and find it in my journal. So I'm not going to burn them.
Yeah. I take it back. I've burned twice. Once when I was really, really young, and then once like in the past 20 years.
Yeah, it's not
the rest of them are all in this house somewhere.
Right?
Yeah.
But I honor that people have that practice. I think it's really, it's just, it's not my practice.
There's another, so, okay, what I've been doing that kind of resonates for that is art journaling. So taking the journal and then painting over it and doing things with that. And that's one of our guests, Falky, introduced me to art journaling. And since then, so I am covering up stuff, but actually what I'm doing is enriching that. I'm adding more to that. It's just that that part is a part of the mystery. The original words are a part of the mystery, and the layers that I've added to it are a part of the experience of those original words. So it's a little bit different, but I guess it's maybe the equivalent of burning it. A little bit.
It's transformational.
It's transformational.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
I agree. That's cool. I think I would be more in with that than burning.
And even so, sometimes it's like, I don't know, I want to keep these words for a little bit longer, so let's go to another.
Right.
So it's a part of my practice. I'll put it that way. The actual decision about what to do with the journals as a part of the journaling experience for me.
Oh, and I love that. I love that your intuition is guiding you as to which pages to transform and which to not.
Oh, thank you. I thought it was fear, but okay, is it fear or is it intuition?
Right.
Okay,
It's
the
at
next
the top
time I
of the-
have that choice, I will delve into it a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Because it could be fear. It could be. Yeah.
And
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yay.
And I think for me that is my core practice right now. Is like, is it fear or is it intuition? And figuring out which one or how the combination is showing up for me.
And oh my gosh. And that, I mean, again, that's a practice right there. Yeah. That's, I mean, as you've just said, I guess.
Well, speaking of practice, like, are there other magical practices that you use or that you found?
That's a good question. Oh yeah. So one that I haven't explored recently because my sleep has been so shitty, has been the dreams I have. There was a period in my life where I was learning so much about myself through my dreams. And I don't know if you can see down, we're in my craft room, so I have a lot of books, but actually they're all by my bed. Okay. Most of my dream books, and they're not dream interpretation. Well, some of them are interpretation, but just the way one experiences dreams and what they might mean. Not the actual symbols, but the process, has been wonderfully illuminating for me. And so there was a period where I was doing a lot of intense work in my dreams. I want to do that more, but I've got to work on my sleep hygiene a little bit more. But anyway, so dreams, and then something that I've explored over the years have been coincidences. What quote unquote coincidences?
Yes.
Coinky dinkies.
Coinky dinkers.
And what really is a coincidence and what is really just a sign from the universe. So signs from the universe, and not trying to figure out, but allowing myself to explore the possibilities of what I'm being told in the world around me. What about with you?
Well, the other book that I brought is called The Art of Dreaming. It's by Jill Mellick, Mellick. Again, this was a book that was part of the curriculum for my master's. But I really liked it because it was less about like, if this shows up in your dream, it means this. And it was more about interpreting.
Exactly. Yes.
Which I really like.
There's another one. I think it's when it's by my bed. I'll try. I want to say it's when skies cry and rivers run uphill or something like that. And it's that whole idea. It's not about, okay, this symbol means this means that, but it's more about when you're dreaming this, when you're thinking about this, or when you're exploring this in your dreams, what are the doors that are opening up for you by having that image, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then in this book, it uses everything from like writing and movement and collage and drawing, wordplay. It's just like a bunch of different, which is all the way I view it. It's all just a way of taking the tool of your dreams and pairing it with some sort of practice that will help free me from like the constraints of like linear thought and allow my intuition to move through that,
to play with them.
The dream, and then therefore I can figure out the like whatever is inside of that dream.
Yes.
So that's why I really like that book. I've always been kind of turned off by like the dream.
Cigar means this. And
Yes. Like dream dictionaries where it's like this means this and because that's not necessarily universal. Like dreams are for me are highly personal.
Exactly.
So a cigar might not mean that to me in my dream. So.
Okay, I just want to ask you this because do you ever so one dream that I had for years was the one where I was either thrown from a window or I hit a trampoline or whatever, and you arch up and you arch up and you arch up, and then you start to fall. Do you ever have those? So it's not a falling dream per se, because a big part of it is that going up and knowing that the fall is coming, and knowing that the fall is coming, and knowing that the fall is coming, and knowing that. And I hadn't had those in decades, and then I had one about 8 or 9 months ago, and it was, what's going on here? And I think it was really something about my age and youth and all this kind of stuff. Wow. But I need to explore that. Have you ever had one of those types of dreams?
So I've never had that specific thing. the type of dream that I have over and over again is I have dreams about losing my teeth. And then I also have dreams about I'm trying to run, but it's like I'm in molasses. So like maybe everybody else around me is running, or like no one else is impacted by that. But like I cannot get my body to move fast enough. Like it's just like super slow. Those are the constant repeating dreams that I have.
We can talk later about.
Right.
I'd love to talk about this more, but whoa,
it would be a fun thing to do an episode on dreams.
Yeah. We'll add that to our list. We're never going to run out.
Never going to run out.
How other like podcasts say that they're always, there's actual articles about what to do when you run out of material for your podcast, and we just look at each other like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for me, like being a witch is just like an infinite possibility.
Yeah,
so there's,
exactly.
Like, we'll never run out.
Exactly, but we'll have to do dreams. Yeah. Okay.
I love that. So we were talking about cultivating intuition and trusting faith as a magical practice. I just think I think we've kind of been talking about that whole time, but for me, like that is what being a witch is. Like the act of doing these things is therefore witchy.
Oh, I totally agree. And it resonates for me because particularly that letting go of the fear of uncertainty is, we've talked about that in terms of shadow, that's that uncertainty is an opportunity for me to just dive into all of these things that I don't know. And so, yeah.
Every ritual for me is an opportunity to cultivate intuition and let go of that fear.
Oh, I agree.
Or to dance with that fear.
I agree.
Because if I went into ritual and thought, I already know all of this, I know how this is going to turn out. I know what's going to happen in this magical working. In fact, I'm just going to like do the magical working and like just write down what I know. I'm so like what like if I went in that way, like
you could just stay your asshole,
right? But what the hell is the point of me being at that ritual? If I'm not going if I'm not going to let go and trust and open myself. So every ritual is an opportunity for me to exercise that intuitive experience, and also that being with that fear, or the fear of the fear, letting go of that fear of the fear, and then creating that space to learn and grow.
I totally agree. And I think so. Yeah. Particularly in the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, the circle that we're a part of has really been exploring the ways in which we are witchy. And that can be, it can be in terms of intuition and various other things, energy, but exploring, allowing us as individual parts of this communal circle to explore our individual gifts. And so this all resonates for me for that reason.
One big thing that I remember when I came to the circle was the way that the circle does trance, which is, super open-ended, leaving the individual things to be decided by each woman, not telling me exactly how I'm going to feel or what I'm going to find or where I'm going to go or even how I'm going, and then trusting that I will know what is right for me. And that practice of that trance work, I think, is like really symbolic for what I view as that commitment of us trusting each woman's intuition.
Totally. So instead of reading a poem, we actually have an excerpt from a novel because Leilani loves novels so much. But actually, I think this is wonderful. It's from Madeline Miller's Circe, or Circe, depending on who you talk to. And I think she takes legends, myths, particularly, well, I think she does mainly like the Greek myths, and she rewrites them in many cases from a feminist point of view. So taking, in many cases, someone who's kind of an unsavory character or a villain, and then writes their history so that you can understand how they got to where they got, and empathize with them a little bit. And so this is an excerpt from Madeline Miller's Circe.
Only that we are here. This is what it means to swim in the tide, to walk the earth and feel it touch your feet. This is what it means to be alive. Yay. Thank you for being here with us as we explore intuition and knowing and letting go of that fear of the fear.
Thank you.
We hope you have enjoyed the magic that has unfolded here at Witchy Wit.
It would be great if you would help make Witchy Wit possible and get access to exclusive content by donating on Patreon.
We'd love it if you join our Witchy community and enjoy shareable content on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Would you do us a big favor and support us by rating and reviewing us wherever you get your podcasts? It's free and helps witchy folks find us.
Feel free to email us at witchywitpodcast@gmail.com. We love to hear from our community. Reach out and let us know what's brewing in your cauldron.
New episodes are released every second and fourth Friday. Follow us on your favorite podcasting platform so our episodes go right to your playlist. You can listen as you ride your broom.
Stay witchy, y'all!